the previous, the two we've just been involved with, I vaguely knew something about. Is it Thomas or Tom? Tom. I know what crowdfunding all is, but in the context of this, is this what we're looking at?
No,
Crowding.
I
didn't have the answer. Crowding debate. Yes. Oh dear, I know nothing about this.
You can get some crowdfunding.
Yeah, that's
Don't turn it down.
Hello, right. It's only 5 minutes. So, give me your attention for 5 minutes. There's no PowerPoint. There is just a reflection on the trial and the process and the feedback in our efforts to improve participation in our online and interactivity in our online discussion forums. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you some extracts from one of the students' reflective diaries through the module by way of telling the story. The student's on the Climate Change and Development Matters programme, that's so as it said. I'm the programme director, my name is Tom Tanner, and the student by coincidence happens to be called Tim Turner. October 18th, 2021. Well, this is it. Coronavirus has tipped me toward the masters I've been putting off for years. Online learning to be a doddle after all those Zoom meetings I had to endure. Tomorrow is the start of a new career of lifelong learning, my new tomorrow. October 19th, 2021. Oh my days, I don't understand Moodle. I'm meant to be a tech-savvy millennial. It's so naughty. What happens to Web 2.0, so as? Surely you can do a skip over this. November 15th, 2021. Been too busy with the module materials to write a diary entry. The course has really opened my eyes about the climate crisis. The content's really varied, not just readings, but a short intro lecture from the brilliant and handsome Dr. Tanner. And then videos, blogs, podcasts, and exercises, not just the dry academic articles. I've been posting my thoughts diligently on the online forum, but hardly any other students are posting. Feels like I'm talking to myself. December 20th, 2021. So, as a Christmas present to the students, the ZF team have introduced an assessment component to the remainder of the online discussion forum contributions. Apparently we'll get marks based not on quality, as that's too difficult to gauge given the diversity of topics and perspectives. Instead, you have to make a meaningful contribution. And there's a simple rough word count and a window to when you have to post. Seems simple enough, but will people respond to the stick approach? January 10th, 2022. A transformational change in the forums. Brackets, I say transformation as transformational change was tackling the climate crisis is what we're learning about in this week's unit. But what a change. Looking back, I say we've gone from around 10% of student participation per week to about 90%. I'd be willing to bet that figure will be broadly representative of the participation rates from here onwards. Incredible coincidence it was. January 24th, 2022. And still the posts keep coming. I feel much more motivated to join in. Plus, I'm learning loads about the places and work experience of my fellow students. Some of the commentaries are deeply felt and personal. To be honest, given some of the things other students are describing, I do wonder if SOAS has a responsibility to help deal with some of the trauma and grief that our learning might be inducing. Or maybe we can address that collectively as a study group. 14th of February 2022. I started thinking about some of the drawbacks to this new system of assessing our forum posts. Many more people are posting now, and that's great, but sometimes it looks like people are just sitting down the words to complete the task rather than actually reflecting on what other students or even the tutors have said. Maybe we need some AI-powered interactive chatbots to link our posts. It's probably worth trying. 28th of April 2022. Final post on this in the diary. But I thought I'd write something reflective now I've started my new module. I've actually looked back at the online discussion sections in this previous module and the posts of my fellow students. They really sparked my memory about the debates and issues in a way that the learning materials alone could never do. Well done to Sarah and the brilliant Dr. Yes, for introducing the assessed version. Maybe sticks are indeed better than parrots. Thank you.
That's cool. Now, in terms of the depth of the reflections that that student was putting. Now, I think many of us, in a variety of formats, whether it's online or elsewhere, will encourage reflection and recording those thoughts. I just wonder how many other colleagues perhaps in online or hybrid actually do that, try and encourage those consistent reflections. Any observations there? You had the same experiences? I thought quite thoughtful comments that were coming through from that student. They're clearly engaged, which doesn't necessarily always happen, perhaps, but that's what
We try to mandate, or certain courses and certain modules try to mandate weekly reflection. And because they felt they were talking to avoid, the reflections stopped, because people weren't reading their reflections, nobody was not responding to the reflection. Whereas engagement in online forums, very similar experience to yours, if there's an assessed element, or they have to summarize, sometimes they have to summarize, 5 of their forum posts across a couple of weeks into a more formal piece of work, then that has driven engagement. Otherwise, around week 4, what we find is a massive drop-off. We've got this hole in week 4. So we make sure we put some fireworks in week 4 always, so people are, back in engagement, but very, very simple.
So for some of the exercises during the week, the responses were based on the exercise they were meant to do, which drove the comments in a certain direction, so there's more commonality and actually interactivity between the boards. But also it gave them, it drove them to do it, so it drove them to do the exercise. Otherwise, they couldn't report on it because they haven't done the exercise. And so it's where interrelating those different assessment components and activities.
And you're nodding, you were saying that you had a similar experience?
I probably don't have a great deal to add to that. You both put it really succinctly. It's about tying in those activities, either a component, an assessment component, so that there's a stick element to it, or just very clearly stating what you perceive to be the value of that activity. If the students don't know what you think that is, you will get that big drop off. You have to be super explicit.
I would just add, I think that it's worth really thinking about why students might be happy to write a reflection, but that's directed to only to the sort of their tutor, and not necessarily put that out for the crowd. And sort of sometimes you want to kind of be able to use both of those options. So in one course that I helped develop, we had a reflection area for things that were just only for the tutor to read, and we would always pretty consistently actually write a short response to them as well, so that they knew that somebody actually read it and cared. And then we were also trying to drive them to post, for the consumption of other students and conversation with other students when they felt comfortable too. But I think you don't always necessarily want your reflection to be public.
Well made. Was there anything that came through online? The diary, yes.
I think there was a touch of the Shakespearean rejection.
Okay, but before we finish that next one, I do have a question to ask. So, the student who complimented that handsome, did they get a distinction? It just crossed my mind. Tom, thank you so much. Sorry.